Hi, and welcome back to another video. Woo woo! It's me. I still refuse to get an intro, but it's my channel, so I can do whatever I want. But whatever. Um, this is a build that I've done. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole video. No, but this is a build that I did honestly a while ago. I had so much trouble finding time to record this. But I'm actually coming into this woefully unprepared, even though this is my third time trying to record this voiceover. But as you can see, I've built an Oasis Springs, and the whole theme for this build and for what I did in general with this was getting out of my comfort zone. For context, I'm from New England. I have never, ever in my life been to a house or anything that looks even remotely like this. So this is something I've never actually seen with my own two eyes. This house right here is entirely a foreign concept. But I figured, hey, there's a lot of shit in The Sims that I just never touch, and I want to kind of play around with it. So that's what I did, and I thought it was really fun. But this is a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house. I've decorated it for a family of up to 4. You could theoretically fit more people because I have an office that is quite large and could easily be converted into another bedroom or into like a skill building space or whatever you really want. Um, Another way in which I use this to get out of my comfort zone was I did things I never do in builds. So you just saw me build a balcony. I built a balcony. Um, because that's because when I said I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, by that I mean I want to build things that in real life I am terrified of and just do not like. So this house includes a balcony, a swimming pool, and lit candles. Those are all things I absolutely do not want when I get a house for myself, whenever that may be, or an apartment or anything. I hate. Oh my god! I'm sorry. I need to talk about this. I hate candles. I do not like candles being. I don't like open flames. Basically, I think they're scary, and I'm really scared that I'm gonna knock into them. Also, I have cats, and I don't trust my cats with them. But my mom likes to light candles, and somehow the cats haven't knocked those over, and that's really good because oh my god, do I not like candles? And I just straight up don't like water, so obviously I don't like swimming pools and stuff like that. And then balconies, it's okay, so technically I'm fine with the concept of balconies. I think having a nice view is pretty cool. The thing I don't like is the idea of falling or dropping something. It's less falling, more dropping something, which is also the same reason I don't like boats. Well, I also don't like boats because I don't like water, but I don't like being on big boats that are really high up with rails that you can look over because I'm always scared I'm gonna drop something, even if I'm not holding anything. I don't know why. I'm just kind of like this. But the idea with this house was I wanted to take all these things that I don't like and that I'm sort of afraid of and just kind of have fun with them and use them creatively. And I think for having done that, this turned out to be a kind of nice house. I like this house. I think it's good. And I also think, even though I don't do a ton of gameplay, like controlling Sims, moving them around kind of thing, I do think that theoretically, potentially, this is a pretty playable house. It has everything you need. It has, uh, I think, pretty limited clutter in a lot of areas. My idea for the downstairs when I was, I built this over several days, but my idea when I was building the downstairs was I didn't want to go super heavy on the clutter and the detail, partially because I was building this late at night and I was tired and I just did not have the will to make a kitchen look like a bomb went off in there kind of vibes. But for the upstairs, I did do a bit more in some of the rooms, I went a bit harder on being decorated and stuff. But I also never went fully super detailed character study levels of decorated. And I think that was good for me because admittedly, I am someone who focuses on a lot of the small details, especially whenever I play The Sims or something. I think that's true of a lot of people. Um, at least people I've seen who play The Sims and who like to build a lot, is they're usually very detail oriented people, and I think it's easy to get caught up in details when you're doing something like this. So it was nice to kind of step back and just do whatever felt good in the moment. it was honestly really fun, and I'm glad I did this. I'm also just again glad that I built something that's totally out of my comfort zone. Uh, I think that's like an important thing that I want to embrace more in my personal life as well. It's just kind of like doing things I wouldn't normally do. Yeah, like rob a bank, or maybe I'm gonna skip that one. I don't know. But yes. So the people who I imagine living here, I was thinking it's a family who is not originally from like the Oasis Springs area. You're gonna see as I continue to build that I played around with like a lot of stuff from other packs that I admittedly don't use a ton, and like worlds I don't build and all that much. So a bunch of stuff from Sulani, which is making me think, and this is like my little occult subtext I wanted to play around with for this house. I was thinking that I was thinking that they were all mermaids, and they moved from Sulani because maybe one of the parents had to like move for their job or something, and they just took the whole family. And part of that is because one, I used a bunch of like stuff from Sulani, and two, all the bathrooms, like all the full bathrooms, have bathtubs in them, and mermaids like bathtubs. It's very loose, very tenuous, but like it was fun, and that's all I really wanted to do. And also, it helped me eventually with some of the design because a couple of the rooms I really, really struggled with how to like decorate them and stuff. But I got there eventually. I mean, we're here now. So anyway, forget the build. Um, it's been a hot minute since this happened, but Growing Together was announced. um, I've sort of followed news about that. Barely on. I have not been following it. I know that it got announced. I saw the trailer. I saw the gameplay trailer. It looks interesting. I hope it's really well realized and well executed. The build mode stuff I've seen looks nice. I don't know when or if I'm gonna get it. Honestly, I'm definitely not gonna get it at launch. It comes out next week during my spring break, luckily, but I don't think I'm gonna get it. Not for a bit, not until it goes on sale. Just because like I'm not really into like family gameplay like that. It's like I've never been super into, like multi-generational growing a family kind of thing. Usually whenever I do like sit down and like make a stand and play them, I honestly have had the most fun just like with a single sim, working on aspirations or doing stuff like that. I've never been big on like the management of like a bunch of people in a household, especially when it's a bunch of younger people and they can't take care of themselves. So you do have to like micromanage them a bit. But I also do typically play with autonomy off, just because like I do get kind of annoyed by Sims doing stuff I don't want them to. So I guess it's more of like that need to control my inner builder coming out whenever I play with Sims. But no, it does look like it's going to be some like interesting family gameplay. Just unfortunately, it's not gameplay that appeals to me specifically. Which I mean, that's fine. Anyway, I'm kind of curious how a house like this, where it's like I'm thinking this is like a house that would be fairly playable if you wanted to like make a family and like live out their lives in this house in terms of like playing the game and routing and like all the things you would need because like they have obviously like beds and bathrooms in the kitchen and all that. There's the one dining space, so like whenever they would eat meals, they would eat together, which I know I've heard of a lot of people like having trouble getting their Sims together to eat. But at the same time, how much of that is because you have like a million different places to sit down and eat and stuff like that? Because I feel like having just like the one dining table next to the kitchen definitely helps with like getting Sims to like eat together. So like you have all that, and then you have like an office with a computer and stuff. And I tried my best to leave like ample room to move around. I feel like the living room got kind of tight, but that's like one of the only spaces where I feel like it would be difficult to maybe have your Sims route properly. Otherwise, I did try and make it pretty player friendly. I know that a big thing to avoid is having tall objects like in the middle of a room or up against an interior wall. So like a lot of the bookcases I use are against exterior walls. So that and it's never like against every single wall, so it should be easy if you have all the walls. I usually play with all the walls completely down. It should be easy to like tell where your Sims are at a given point. And obviously I have bathrooms upstairs and downstairs and that kind of thing. So I tried to make this like playable. I think the like one thing that isn't super playable is the fact that I have a grill on the lot, which I think it's because typically grills have like a higher cooking rating or reliability or just something than most of the stoves in game. especially for like the same price. So I think the Sims just like prefer to use the grill. But it's also like if your Sims just become obsessed with it, you could just easily delete it. Anyway, um, you may have noticed that I went straight from the kitchen to the upstairs bathrooms. I also have not like made the downstairs bathroom. That's because when I was building this, I built the whole shell of the house. I built the like I made the layout. I realized, oh, I have no idea what to do with that giant room on the downstairs, the one that like it ended up being an office. I had no idea what to do with that room, and I think the only room I really felt confident about making when I was like first working on the interior was like the bathrooms in the kitchen and the dining room. Because like I remember I built the whole outside. I went to sleep, and then like while I was in class the next day, I was like, yeah, it would probably look good if I did like this here and that, and like I sketched stuff on the side of my notebook and whatnot. Anyway, this is the master bedroom. It has its little ensuite. It has a big double bed. I was thinking this was for two parents. Um, I tried to make it like pretty simple. I didn't want to go super overboard with it. Um, and I think I achieved that because like I have like a dresser and a mirror and like some stuff. I have decoration in here, but I also tried to keep it fairly functional. Like I give them a bookshelf and a space to sit and read. And I honestly think that turned out really nice. Like thinking about it, I think I would enjoy a bedroom like this just because like it's very simple and very cozy, and I feel like it wouldn't be too overwhelming to be in here. And I think ultimately that's really what I want to strive for in building spaces that are supposed to be either like more realistic or just like I don't know, like in general. Because I feel like with overwhelming also comes in The Sims difficult to route around because really the Sims are beholden to like whatever programming they have to be able to like navigate their environment. Yeah, and then also carrying with like the oceanic theme. I think this is where I was beginning to bring it in because I use the bed from Island Living, which I never use ever. And I actually really like how it looked there because it just kind of like pops. It's great. Anyway, we're finally downstairs to the living room. I like how this living room turned out. I think in terms of color scheme, it's very similar to a lot of things I've made like in my personal time and like stuff I've shared. But I think I also feel that like in terms of how I constructed the room and the fact that I used these specific like couches and chairs, that's something that's more unique to this build. And I think that turned out really nice as well. Also, just the color scheme looks nice. Um, and then I also made the big built-in where the television is with the bookshelves, which are also functional. But this is like the one area in the house where I feel like the routing is a little iffy because I ended up putting two chairs across from the fireplace right over there. And I feel like your Sims would have trouble getting around there. I forgot to playtest that when I was playtesting this house and like getting stuff ready for the screenshots. So if it's an issue, you could definitely just like delete a chair because I don't think you're gonna need six different places to sit and watch television, considering how big this house is and how many members of the family I had in it. Also, ignore what I'm doing with that computer over there. I was originally thinking of having just like a family computer downstairs because I had no idea what I was going to do with that big room, whether it was going to be like a second living space or whatever. I eventually moved like the computer and stuff over there, but for a while it was over here. This was definitely an indecisive build. And then for the built-in, it was also just like I also tried to keep that pretty simple, just because I didn't want to like I didn't have the energy to like go in and make it super cluttered, and I didn't want to like force myself to make it more than it needed to be. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say about the build for now. I want to talk about myself because it's my channel. I'm allowed to ramble about random stuff. Hey, I'm in my senior year of college, my last semester of college. This is weird and scary, and I hate it. Oh my God, everything is expensive. I have to, I'm gonna have to like get a job. I'm terrified. Please help. But no, I'm actually really looking forward to like graduating and being on my own and having a kitchen. Because currently I just live in like a dorm and it's nice and all, but I don't have a kitchen. I have just this one room to myself, which is like a decent sized room. Like I like this room. Uh, However, I have like a mini fridge and all of like my food trash is right next to like my desk and my bed and it's all in one space and it's like all on top of like everything else. And I'm kind of ready for being able to like have more separation to like my spaces. That's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Also, I'm gonna have my cat with me. I love her. She's very sweet. I've had her for like 14 and a half years, so she's she's quite the old lady. I think if you like scroll really far back on the channel, there's like videos of her. There's some that I'm probably gonna delete now that I mention them because like, oh my God, I was like in ninth grade, maybe even eighth grade, and I don't want to think about that time in my life. But now, so I'm excited to hopefully be able to like move out of my parents' house and live with my cat. That's gonna be really nice. And then next week actually is my spring break. Next week is also when the new pack drops. So I can't wait to like have time off and be able to just like watch videos about the new pack. Because like even if I'm not excited to play with it or anything, I am still excited to see what comes with it. It's the same with high school years where it was like I wasn't super into like the prospect of playing with it, and I was like, it's nice and all, but like aesthetically something just didn't appeal to me. But I do like seeing what other people are able to make with it. And I'll admit, I do think the world is kind of nice. It's not like favorite world material. Like for me, nothing's gonna beat Brennelton Bay. It's my absolute favorite world in the game. And like after that, I'm not sure what my other favorite is. But I do like Copperdale. I think it's nice, and I'm kind of excited to see what people make with whatever the new one for growing together is called. It's like Sequoia something. Anyway, um, if you may have seen, we have finally moved to the swimming pool, the terrifying swimming pool, and I used a bunch of stuff in Courtyard Oasis for the flooring and the walls of that, and I really like how that turned out. And it kind of like made me feel forced, like in a good way, but feel forced to use more stuff in Courtyard Oasis. So I ended up using like the really big plant from it that I never used, but I think it's beautiful. And I think I used some other stuff, maybe. I might have, I forget. But I feel like it was still more of that like getting out of my comfort zone kind of vibe of like I wanted to use packs that I kind of avoid whenever I try and build something for other people because it's like, oh well it's a kit. No one's probably gonna have this kind of thing. But no, it's my build, I can do what I want. And also let's try something scary and new. Like I used that like golden lantern from what's its name? Uh Wedding Stories. I also used these loungers from it. I didn't use like a ton of stuff from Wedding Stories just because like there wasn't a ton of stuff that felt like it fit the vibe. But I will say that the three tile long table from there is really nice. And then I also use like the floaty in the pool. It's like I like these pool floaties. I just hate pools. And so I'm glad I got to use that. And then for like the whole backyard, I honestly don't feel super confident decorating backyards half the time. Almost like I have a family in mind that's super outdoorsy, which I don't feel like this is like a super outdoorsy family. Like they enjoy spending time outside, but at the same time, they definitely are prepared to just like spend a whole day indoors with each other, assuming they spend it with each other. Because I feel like these are also the sort of people who I think would be totally fine just like with a day left to their own devices. And I think that's totally cool. Anyway, I'll tell you more about the family once we move inside, because right now you're just staring at like a swimming pool. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying to think if I have any more like weird stories to tell about stuff. Yeah, my spring break is next week. It's my last semester. Oh, my chemistry class. So you might have heard me say chemistry class and thought, oh, this is going to be boring. It is, but it's not boring the way you think it is. It's okay. So, I'm in a chemistry class right now about polymers and like basically how you would characterize them and learn more about them and techniques you would use for that. I know, very fascinating stuff. It's like me and eight grad students, and I'm terrified all the time, but like in a good way. I'm having fun. And so in my chemistry class, on I have it Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on this past Tuesday, I'm recording this on Wednesday. Yesterday, um, my professor came into class and he took a whiteboard marker and just wrote on the whiteboard. It's like, "Hi, thanks for coming to class. Unfortunately, I've lost my voice again." Because I think it was like 2 weeks ago. He lost his voice. No, it was there was a snow day, so the school was closed, and he said, "Oh, I'll just record the lecture for you. I won't make you come to class." He technically couldn't hold class like in person, and it isn't the kind of class where you would want to teach it online anyway. So he's like, "Oh, I'll just record the lecture for you." And so all of Thursday goes by. I'm waiting for this lecture. The whole weekend goes by. I'm waiting. I'm just like waiting for him to send us this lecture about whatever. And eventually he's like, "Oh, by the way, I lost my voice." And by the time it came back to him, his kids, it was their winter break, so he went to Iceland. And just as he came back from Iceland, that was when he lost his voice again. So I have been struggling in that. Honestly, I've been struggling in the class for other reasons, but like he's been struggling to get the class to function, which is unfortunate because like this is not an easy class, but like it's just not going right for anyone. Anyway, I stalled enough time. We can now talk about the Sims who live here. So this is a teen bedroom. For like just one teen. I wasn't thinking too much about them, more so about their hobbies and interests. Um, I went for this kind of earthy color scheme with a lot of like kind of handmade materials and like woven stuff. So you can see I used a bunch of like eco lifestyle and lingerie to get that kind of rustic look, if you will. I also use the Jungle Adventure mirror because it's great. Um, but my idea for this teenager was it's someone who's really into like conservation and environmentalism, but also has like an artistic side to them. So I used a lot of earthy tones to try and like take from nature. And then I don't feel like I super showed that they're super like eco whatever in this build, but I do think there's someone who like in terms of their fashion and their tastes is more of like this kind of eclectic boho sort of thing. Um so I tried to channel that with a bunch of like wicker and whatnot as well. Which I don't know, I guess wicker is kind of boho. I've never been super into like the like soft beachy boho like aesthetic that's super common in Sims builds, like on YouTube, especially for some reason. I've never been super into it. Like, I do use a lot of neutrals and stuff that I make, like, in my personal builds, just because, like, I don't know. I think I'm going through my neutral phase. I think that's what happens when you're, like, in your 20s. But, um, I usually don't, like, go for that kind of thing, but this was not quite me attempting that. It was more so me kind of playing on that, and also, again, using these items that I don't use as often to make something that I ended up really enjoying. I think this might be my favorite room in the house, like straight up. But yeah, and I also end up giving this person like a lot of plants. I feel like they're also someone who's really artistic, so I have those those canvases against the wall, and they also have like a sketch pad. And then to kind of carry on that theme of like these people from Sulani who've had to move, they are quite literally fish out of water. I have the mermaid scroll on the wall, which I also think just really tied in the colors really nicely. Oh, and also the Island Living dresser. They also have that. So I tried in every one of the bedrooms to take like something from Island Living. I feel like this and the parents' room do like a decent job. There's another kids' room that we'll get to in a bit. I think that like sort of gets on part of it, but like not completely. Yeah. Anyway, so now I'm just putting in plants. I Plants are another thing that I'm not afraid of. I just don't like having plants because I don't like dirt and I kill plants really easily. I know I used to work in a garden center and I was like I would have to water the plants all the time, but I'm really bad at taking care of my own plants and fish. There are also fish in this house though. But when it's like my own plants and my own fish, I will forget about them. It's really bad, especially the fish. Those are living creatures. Um, but like I worked at the garden center, and right now the job I have to take care of salamanders, and that's like taking care of fish. Except you're allowed to let them just be in the air for a little bit because they're amphibians. Um, but like I had fish growing up. I was really bad about that. It was like my mom would feed the fish. I would not feed the fish. Anyway, speaking of fish, well, not speaking of fish, here's the last bedroom that we do. This was also when I discovered those island living curtains. I was like, wait, those go really hard. And I put them in the parents' room. I did not use them in the kids' room. But for this, it was just it was a kids' room. It didn't have like any like strong theme or vibe to it. I just kind of made things vaguely blue and green with that really warm kind of orangish wood tone. Um, so essentially I was playing with, the base game Kids Furniture has like that one swatch that's like blue and green. I just kind of played around with that. Also, side note, absolutely detest that furniture. I cannot say it enough. How ugly I think the base game kids furniture is. Like I avoid it every opportunity I get. there's like a number of base game items. It's always kids items, but there's like I don't know why. I just can't stand them. I don't know what about it, honestly. I think it's the shape because like the colors themselves aren't bad. Like there's some good colors. I like the like almost like the like light kind of tealy blue and the like almost like off-white kind of creamy color. I think that's a good color scheme. So like if I'm forced to use base game kids beds like that, I usually go to that one. But for some reason the green and blue one I hate. The pink and purple one I hate. The orange and blue one I really hate because I also don't like dinosaurs. But that's like me being unhinged, so don't worry. Um listen, there's also like the red and blue one also hate. It reminds me of like you know when you go to the store and you get like that bag of mixed fruit, it's like strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries. It reminds me of that. And the reason I don't like that is because I don't like blueberries, but all the other fruits are fine. And I don't know why. I have such strong feelings. Oh, and there's also like there's a straight up orange one. I hate that. I hate orange. It's a bad color. I'm sorry. I feel very strongly about my base game kids furniture for some reason. But yeah, I'm so glad that like kids room exists. And actually, that's one thing I am excited for in growing together is hopefully some better options for kids furniture. I think children deserve it, as a treat. They deserve good furniture as a treat. Anyway, now we're finally back downstairs to tackle that like one last room that like I was terrified by. This is also when I added another bathroom um, because I realized one, it will make that room smaller, and two, I think it's just a good idea to have like more bathroom space, especially because that hallway felt kind of awkward and I wasn't sure what to put in it. I really don't put anything in it besides like the back door in the bathroom and like a little mat to wipe your shoes. Um, but I'm finally moving on to that office because like I was trying to avoid having an office because I was like, oh, they can just have like a computer in the living room and I can make this into something cool and it can be like a painting studio or something. But I couldn't I couldn't imagine any of them as like painting or anything except for that one teenager. But I feel like they also prefer digital art rather than like actual like paints. So I was like, oh, what do I do? And I was just kind of panicking and I just gave up and was like, it's an office. But I do kind of like how this turned out. I sized up the bookcases a little bit and I put like a wall decoration from Island Living between them to make it kind of like a built-in. I also do keep that children's drawing table. It just moves to the living room at some point. I don't know when I did it. It goes there at some point, just because like I like the idea of having that for like the kid, because I really don't know who this kid would want to be. This kid could be creative, athletic, sociable, smart. The four types of children. And also in the living room, I ended up just putting a piano because again, I have no idea what to put there. But anyway, this office, last room I did, I do kind of like how it turned out. It's really simple in terms of like the functional parts of it, but I think in terms of storytelling, it does a good job because I used obviously that carved feature from Island Living, and I also use whatchamacallit, I use a rug from there, as well as just some more decor that goes up around there. And I think using that in this space kind of shows that like this family still holds on to like the fact that they're from Sulani, but they're also kind of trying to show that they're willing to like not assimilate, but like kind of play nice with the fact that they're in a new place and kind of embrace that rather than like rejecting it and just sticking to their ways completely. Um, I guess I'm thinking too much into it, but whatever. I also like put some pictures above the fireplace. I honestly just like using the Island Living stuff. I don't use it nearly enough, and I'm kind of excited to have more opportunities to use it in the future. But this is about it for the build. This was a long voiceover, and I have spent a little longer than I'd like to admit trying to get it done. I built this like close to a month ago. I'm really bad about doing stuff on time, but you know what? That's okay. Timeliness is who needs it. But thank you for watching. If you'd like to download this, it will be available on my website as a tray file. I'm terrified of the gallery. That's all I have to say. Have a good day and goodbye.